Welcome back to the Star Trek Critic, where we grade the shows as if we know more than they do about making television shows and trash them on it. Today's episode is The Immunity Syndrome, where the Enterprise flies into a giant one-celled organism that eats star systems. The show starts out with the crew going to Starbase 6 for R&R, and the first point is lost for Kirk's awkward look and comment at the female walking by. He does it again at the end of the show, too. It's a good thing McCoy makes the comment about the Intrepid being manned by Vulcans, or we would never know why Spock went nuts. But it is impossible for telepathic screams to travel light years like that, so -1 point. Or it could be Spock has premonitions just like your grandmother used to have. Kirk gets the order to go on a rescue mission. Chekhov says the star system is dead, but he really doesn't clarify what that means. But Kirk knows what it means. This scene is here so McCoy can make a derogatory comment about Vulcans, so -1 point. Then Spock trash talks humans. And this comment is completely outdated because Vulcan history was very bloody thousands of years ago, so -1 point. The next point is lost because the turbolift only has a single set of doors and no cut in the carpet. The next point is lost since they slowed to warp 3, which is 27 times the speed of light. They still would have flown right past it. -1 more point because that guy on the left is not Kyle. That's Kyle right there. And another point lost since Kyle started in a red shirt, see? Theoretically, this thing in space is also traveling at 27 times the speed of light. That's probably why they're so worried. A hole in space you can't see through. Where did I hear this before?
If this were any ordinary kind of hole in space, wouldn't we be able to see what's behind it?
Now they're going warp 1, which is light speed. Obviously, this hole in space is moving pretty fast too. Kirk fell asleep at the con again. The next point is lost, since Spock doesn't react to the sound, but he has more sensitive ears than the others. Uhura and half the crew get dizzy. And McCoy loses a point for giving all the crew stimulants before he finds out what is making them pass out in the first place. Kirk finally says for them to stop. This is one of the few times Kirk goes off on Spock. They are all really exhausted. Spock uses reverse logic, but they still don't know what it is, and mentions the Coalsack Nebula, which is a real nebula. That's why she said, then they entered the void and all the stars disappeared. Kirk wants to know why the stars disappeared. Leslie gets to perform a stunt. Spock's like, there goes another one. McCoy can inject Kirk without even looking. Kirk states the obvious. Spock and Kirk do a comedy sketch and discussing how neither of them know what this thing is. McCoy wasn't impressed with the comedy sketch. He comes up with a simple solution, let's get out of here. And whatever they got themselves into, it's sucking the life out of them. Normally, I don't like captain's logs after commercials, but this time it's justified since the log is being made in case they don't come back and this is all that's left. But -1 point here because her tunic is too short. They really like throwing themselves around on this episode. Spoiler alert, whatever is draining the crew is also draining the ship and pulling the ship towards it. It makes you wonder what they're really talking about. Another point is lost here for not putting a blanket on the poor girl. This is practically an upskirt shot. If you notice in the conference room, there is one woman. There are several women extras in this episode. They don't have speaking parts, but at least Star Trek is trying. McCoy is concerned the stimulants will come back and haunt you, but he was the one handing them out like candy before. Scotty says he's going to save some power for the shield, while Spock preaches doom and destruction for them all. Spock is again boasting about his home planet, and of course his comment has nothing to do with what the Vulcans saw before they died. Scotty and his crew are doing the engineering dance. Of course, with all the female extras, the comments don't always look politically correct. Now the entire crew gets to throw themselves around the ship. I hope they have padded floors, because it looks like an engineer fell off the ladder. There it is, a baby Nagilum. If they ever watch The Next Generation, they know they need to destroy this thing as soon as possible. Spock loses a point for using miles. And they still haven't cleaned up this monitor, so -1 more point. The next point is lost in this conversation about sending one person in a shuttlecraft. You need to send an entire research team, which means this scene where Kirk chooses who to send in is unnecessary. So -1 more point. Here is another unnecessary conversation because McCoy is the chief surgeon and half the crew is sick. By default, he needs to stay on the ship. And now we're going through another long conversation between Spock and McCoy. Have you noticed in this episode, they're either having philosophical conversations or just getting thrown around the ship? I'm sure Spock wanted to go also had to do with the deaths of his Vulcan kindred, and he asked McCoy to wish him luck. And -1 point because that is not how you spell hangar for aircraft. The next point is lost for only sending one shuttlecraft. They should have sent 2, and to save on special effects and staff, it would have been easy just to say Team A and B over the intercom. He should have said that to Spock directly. They're getting real personal in this episode. Sounds like we are taking a sex ed class. Spock is wrong about this comment. Of course, can Dr. McCoy even fly a shuttle? Spock manages to shock the thing to let the crew know he is okay. And if this happens, they are screwed. This screenshot turned out great. And of course it cuts out right when they find out what they need in the charge. And -1 point for Kirk not being on the bridge when they only got 30 minutes of life left. Kirk says Miles too. When they're scared, they're afraid to use the metric system. So Kirk figured out how to destroy it, but in such a crucial moment, why is he playing with his Nintendo? It says impact in 5 seconds, but it looks like they've already impacted. And here they go, throwing themselves around the ship again. So they're gonna launch a probe at point blank range. A magnetic bottle is a type of drink they're gonna celebrate with later. The probe is right where they want it, now they just gotta get out of there. Spock is just saying this so he will sound like a hero. And they destroy the organism by throwing themselves around the ship for the 6th time in 1 hour. It was so rough, McCoy and Scotty both performed the Picard maneuver. So was the creature destroyed by the antimatter explosion, or by them all throwing themselves around the ship? We will never know. The creature is destroyed. They resume course to Starbase 6, and as you can see, Kirk again notices the girl on the bridge. And the immunity syndrome gets a whopping score of 83%. That's all for now. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists. Click that like button, the share button, and most important, that subscribe button. And check out all the girls that are in Star Trek: The Immunity Syndrome.